You know the story, right? The classic American dream. You work hard, you're honest, you play by the rules, and success will find you. But what if that's not the whole picture? What if the fastest, most direct path to wealth isn't about being fair at all? That's the shadow narrative we're going to dive into.
I mean, this is the promise we're all sold from day one. It's a really clean, inspiring idea, isn't it? The diligent rise, the talented win. It's the bedrock of how we think about what it means to be successful.
And boom, here's the question that just shatters that comforting story. What if the most effective strategy, the one that gets you to the top quickest, actually involves leveraging a little, or a lot, of unfairness? It's a chilling thought, but it's exactly what we're going to unpack.
So first up, we're going to really challenge that core idea of the American dream. We'll explore how, maybe, just maybe, a willingness to be unfair can be a hidden and super powerful engine for building a fortune. Yeah, we're going to look right past the glossy PR version of success. Let's peel back the layers and look into the shadows. The shadows of advantage, of entitlement, and the very real rewards that can come from, well, not exactly playing by the spirit of the rules.
To really see how this plays out on a massive scale, we've got to take a trip back in time, back to the Gilded Age. This was a time when staggering fortunes were built in a system that was, let's just say, anything but fair.
Think about guys like Carnegie and Rockefeller. I mean, they're legends, right? And no one's denying their genius. But that's not the whole story, not even close. They were operating in a world where the rules were literally tilted in their favor. Fairness wasn't even on the menu.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. It's the perfect illustration of a rigged game. On one side, you have the small businessman, just trying to compete fairly. And on the other, you've got the railroad tycoons, getting secret discounts, using predatory pricing to literally crush their rivals, and getting massive land grants from the government. See the difference? One competed. The other controlled the entire board.
Okay, let's jump forward in time. We're going to see how these exact same dynamics play out today. Not on the American frontier, but inside the modern corporation, often driven by the very incentives that were designed to make things better. This brings us to something called the corporate shortcut. And it's a fascinating paradox. You create a financial reward to encourage a good thing, right? But in doing so, you can accidentally create an even bigger, more tempting reward for just cheating the system.
You have got to hear this example. It breaks it down perfectly. The goal? Totally noble. Cleaner frozen peas. The incentive? Seemed logical. You get a bonus for every insect part you find. But the shortcut? Wow. It was kind of genius, but totally unethical. Workers figured out it was way more profitable to bring bugs from home, plant them, and then find them than it was to actually do the hard work of making the product better.
And listen, don't make the mistake of thinking this is just some funny story about peas. The biggest financial scandals you read about, they are often just the frozen pea problem scaled up to a mind-boggling billion-dollar level, where it's way more profitable to manipulate the numbers than to do the right thing. Okay, so we've looked at the huge systems, the big corporations. But what about us? What about the individual? What does having wealth actually do to our brains, to our sense of empathy, and our willingness to just play fair?
Well, psychologists have found a pattern that's frankly a little unsettling. It turns out that having more money, more power, more status, it doesn't automatically make us better people. In fact, sometimes it does the opposite. It can create this sense of entitlement that gives us permission to bend the rules.
So check this out. Researchers at Berkeley did a simple study. They just went to a crosswalk in San Francisco, where the law clearly says you have to stop for pedestrians. They just watched, and they took notes on what kind of car people were driving and whether they obeyed the law. The results, well, they were stark. That's right, 4 times. People driving expensive, high-status cars were 4 times less likely to stop for a person in a crosswalk. 4. It wasn't just a small difference. It seems that even in this small, everyday interaction, that feeling of wealth translated into a diminished regard for the rules and for other people.
And this quote really gets to the heart of the psychology behind it. When you're successful, it can create this powerful feeling that you deserve more, that the rules don't apply to you in quite the same way. And that feeling of desert, well, it becomes the perfect internal justification for just taking what you want.
All right, so after looking at history, at corporations, at our own psychology, we have to face the big one, the ultimate question.
So let's just ask it plainly. Does it pay to be unfair? If your goal is to get rich, is taking the unjust path actually the smarter, more effective strategy?
And the answer? Well, it might not be what you want to hear. The uncomfortable, pragmatic truth is that in the short to medium term, yeah, it does. Exploiting systems, bending rules, leveraging unfair advantages, it often provides a much faster, steeper, and more profitable climb to the top. But, and this is a huge but, that's not the end of the story.
Because here's the catch. A foundation built on unfairness is fragile. It's brittle. The people who are truly brilliant financially, they understand the difference between playing the short game and the long game. Wealth built on exploitation can vanish overnight, but wealth built on trust, that's sustainable.
Which brings us to the real takeaway here. True, lasting, generational wealth, it depends on assets you can't just buy. Things like a clean record, a solid reputation, real, genuine trust from others. You can think of these as a kind of success insurance. They provide the long-term stability that creates real, lasting value.
And so, I'll leave you with this to think about. What really is the true measure of wealth? Is it just the number in your bank account, no matter how you got it? Or is it something more durable? Something built on a foundation that can actually stand the test of time? Thanks for joining me.